Hi, I'm Lizzie and this is Laura and this is day 7 and our disembarkation day of our Caribbean cruise on board P&O's Arvia in February 2024.
If this is the first time you've seen one of our videos, please do consider subscribing to our channel. We create a new cruise related video every single week and we've got lots more content coming up.
Today is Friday and it's a bit of a weird day on board Arvia because some people will be disembarking and embarking today, whereas for other people it's tomorrow, and then lots of other people are staying on for another week. Because we embarked in Antigua, we needed to complete immigration here in Barbados. Everybody who needs to complete immigration gets given a time, and announcements were being made to call people down. This morning it was running about 20 minutes early. Only one person from each family group needs to go and actually present the passports. I went down to the clubhouse. As you entered the clubhouse, you had to scan your cruise card first of all. Then you held your photo page against a screen with an immigration officer. They took a photo of it or scanned it, and then you got given a little card which you were told to keep. It literally took minutes to do.
As Lizzie got back to the cabin after completing our immigration, we decided to stay in the cabin for a little bit longer. It was just quite busy in and around the ship as the people that were disembarking today had to leave their cabins for 9 AM, so we clashed a bit with that timing. After a bit of relaxing, we headed to, I think, probably one of our favourite spots on this cruise for a drink in Vistas, and we sat there for a little while and watched the world go by, and then we popped up to the buffet for a quick breakfast.
We then decided to go for a walk around the prom deck. We were admiring the absolutely stunning blue sea and couldn't get over just how turquoise it looked. Almost looks like we photoshopped it when we haven't. And we were looking at the other ships that were in port today.
As we headed down to disembark in Barbados, we stumbled across the gym. It's not somewhere we normally go on a cruise, but we did pop in to have a look, and it is very well equipped. There's lots of pretty much brand new equipment in there, so if you are interested in using the gym, then yeah, and there were some nice views out from the windows too.
As you disembark the ship in Barbados, you have to follow the signpost. It directs you, so you actually do walk past the Barbados sign, get quite good views of the ship, and then you walk through a port building. There were plenty of taxi drivers there offering various taxi rides to various places around the island. So if you haven't got anything pre-booked, you'll definitely get yourself a taxi.
We opted not to take a taxi and walk from the port area. Again, we didn't have massive plans for today. We thought we might be able to head for a beach. We weren't too bothered about what beach, just any kind of sort of public beach. And we could see what we thought was one in the distance, but not too far away. So we started walking in that direction. We came along the sort of seafront and walked along a boardwalk. So it was quite a nice walk that we were doing, but it was quite a long walk.
We weren't actually dressed for a beach, to be honest, anyway, so we just wanted to go and have a look at it. So we decided we weren't going to bother carrying on walking because it just looked like it was getting further away, not closer. So we turned left into the main town and had a wander around some of like the market area and the shops, and just generally really enjoyed ourselves, having a good look. Got ourselves some bargain fridge magnets. Prices can be a bit confusing because sometimes they're in US dollars and sometimes they're in Barbados dollars, so we thought we paid a lot more money for them than we had when we got the alert on Monzo.
Bridgetown itself were really lively and vibrant. There were lots of people around. It was very, very busy really as well on the streets. There were also lots of shops that you could pop into. We enjoyed popping into some to just get the most out of the air conditioning, as it was a very hot day. We also found some interesting indoor markets that were selling lots of sort of food and produce. So there was just loads of interesting stuff to look at, and we really enjoyed ourselves having a wander.
The walk naturally sort of took us on a little bit of a loop anyway. So we were sort of heading back towards the ship, and by now we were quite hot and bothered and decided that yes, it would be worth heading back. If we wanted to get back off again tomorrow, we could do. So we headed back to the ship and headed straight into Brody's for a nice, cool, refreshing drink.
After we'd finished our drink, we headed up to Taste 360 for some lunch. I had a hot dog and a pizza slice on top of that, and
I had a cheeseburger and some chips.
So we sat there again in the Sky Dome, just enjoying that.
Then we decided, because the ship was pretty quiet, we would try and get a hot tub on deck 8. So we headed back to the cabin to get changed and headed out, and easily found one and enjoyed a good while sitting in there.
We then headed back to our cabin, as sadly it was time to sort out our packing, but also get ready for the evening.
Tonight, there's a real lack of entertainment on board. We've had this happen to us before when we were on our Azura cruise in Tenerife. They don't put on as much entertainment because people are embarking and disembarking. But we always think it's a real disappointment because it's our last night and we want to be able to enjoy ourselves.
We also struggled a bit to decide what we wanted for dinner. We checked the main dining room menu and we weren't really excited about it. So thought we'd got some of the other options. And as we walked past Limelight, we noticed that the menu had changed. So we thought perhaps that meant that the menus had changed in the other dining rooms. And we were right. And the menu had changed in the Olive Grove. So we decided to go there for a second time on this cruise.
As we were walking towards the Olive Grove, we were very excited to see that there was a pop-up show in the atrium. We hadn't been lucky enough to have seen one yet on board this week. So we were very excited to see this, and they were two very, very talented acrobats. Some of the things they do, I do not know how they do it and how they are so brave to do these things.
We both really enjoyed watching that show. It's just nice as a little bit of something to do that's a bit different and makes it feel special. And we'd have probably been a little bit disappointed if we hadn't had the chance to see one whilst on board Arvia.
When we got to the Olive Grove, they just offered to sit us down straight away. We didn't need to join the virtual queue on the My Holiday page.
We both had the same starter, which was really the main reason we wanted to try this menu. It was the king prawn starter, and it was really, really good.
For my main, I had lamb flatbread. It was okay, I'd eat it again. Laura was delighted this time because she actually got to eat her main.
And for my main, I had the lasagna, which I've tried on Iona, and this one, I'm sure it was slightly different, but again, I did enjoy that. And like Lizzie said, I actually got to have my main in the Olive Grove this time.
Neither of us had a dessert in the Olive Grove. As we left there, we decided to pop into Anderson's for a drink. We haven't actually managed to have a drink in there yet. Every time I tried to order a drink, they didn't have it in stock. I wasn't very happy with my drink in the end when it finally came because it just wasn't what I wanted. I went through about 10 different options.
My drink was quite nice. I had one of the cocktails in there and I did enjoy it. Although I am a little bit disappointed that when Arvia's in the Caribbean, Anderson's operates as a rum bar and they don't serve Malibu in there, which Lizzie doesn't agree with me here, but Malibu is a rum, so I feel like it should be being served in there. After
we left Anderson's, we popped back to the cabin just to put our suitcases out. So we popped them outside and then headed down to Brodie's.
In Brodie's, Abigail Smith, the busker on board, was performing, so we sat down to enjoy her performance again. It was another great performance tonight that we sat and really enjoyed. The ship was very quiet tonight and most people had already retired to bed. Obviously, there were people that were tired because it was their travel day today, and there were people aware that they had to get up in the morning to disembark. So we headed off to bed too, but on our way past, we did find a little bit of life in the atrium, where there were some people really enjoying the music there and getting involved with some dancing.
As we said earlier, it is disappointing that there's not a full entertainment schedule today, and also venues like Sixth Street Diner were not open for lunch today. However, it didn't stop us from having a really good day in Bridgetown and a good evening on board Arvia.
The next morning, we woke up still in Barbados as it was our disembarkation day. And we had to be out of our cabin for 9 a.m.
We then did what we've been doing most mornings and headed to Vistas for a drink. We dropped our bags off in the theatre because you can drop your hand luggage bags into the theatre and leave them there until your flight is ready to be called.
We spent a bit of time having a last walk around the ship and just making sure we'd seen all the areas that we wanted to see before we headed out onto the promenade deck, because there was another ship in port that we were really interested to see and get some photos of, and that was Ambassador Ambition. We knew we were going to be docked near to Ambition today, and our next cruise is actually on board Ambition, so that was quite exciting for us to see. If you want to see what we get up to on board Ambition, make sure you subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any of our videos from that cruise. After we took some photos of Ambition, we headed up to the buffet. We waited on purpose for a bit because we wanted it to be a bit quieter.
and we just sat and enjoyed a bit of leisurely breakfast.
We then headed to the glass house where we just sat and had a drink. And what is really interesting on this cruise is that you can use your drinks package on the final day. So on your disembarkation day, it's still active.
We then went for another wander around the ship just to just to make sure we weren't sitting down for too long, because we knew we'd be sat down for a long time on the plane. And then we thought we'd better get some lunch. It didn't feel that long since we'd actually eaten breakfast, but we were very aware of the fact that we might not like the food on the flight home. So we popped into the Keys and grabbed a bite to eat. We both chose to have the katsu curry. Laura had already had it and really liked it. I'd not had it yet on this cruise, so I thought I'd better make sure I did before I get off.
Then it was time for us to head to the theatre because it was nearly our disembarkation time. So we went back in there and collected our bags and then moved over into the seating area that is reserved for the next flight time. In the theatre as well, it's really useful to know that any liquids that you've got that are too large for you to take in your hand luggage, the crew in there will take them off your hands and they'll distribute them amongst the crew on board. So any sun creams and things like that you've used during the morning of your cruise, they'll take from you and get some use out of them so they don't get wasted.
We disembarked the ship and got straight onto a coach. Our coach journey to the airport took just over half an hour. When we got off the coach, we got taken straight to our own security queue. So everybody on Arvia had their own special queue to go through.
We had a quick look in some of the shops in the airport and purchased some drink to take onto the plane with us, because we'd read that the drink service on the Maleth Aero flights home isn't as frequent as the drink service on the way out. We then, to be honest, just took a seat, one of the nearest seats we could find in the departure lounge. It was quite warm in there. There isn't any air conditioning.
I was getting a little bit agitated because I was hot, so I decided to go for a walk to find out where our gate was. We were gate 14, so I just went for a wander down and then discovered this whole new part of the airport which had aircon. So I walked back, grabbed Laura, and we picked up our bags and headed down there. It was really, really quiet when we first got in there, but it definitely got busier, I think, as people realised that this was a bit cooler sitting in this end of the building.
We then heard an announcement that we thought might be about our flight. So they announced that our flight would be delayed because they were still cleaning the aircraft, and that another announcement would be made within 30 minutes to tell us what was going to happen next. So we kind of braced ourselves for a bit of a delay there. But 10 minutes later, they called us for boarding.
When we boarded the aircraft, we had aisle seats, which we were delighted with. So this time I didn't have to sit in the middle, which I think is the most uncomfortable seat I've ever sat in my whole entire life. There wasn't a very pleasant smell around, which lots of people who we were sat by commented on. And also, for some bizarre reason, if you were by the window or in an aisle seat, you got a blanket and a pillow, but if you had the middle seat, you didn't. There was no rhyme or reason behind that. I think basically they just hadn't got enough of them.
Again, there was a little bit of a wait on board the aircraft because the flight crew announced that there were 2 people missing from the flight. It actually turned out that it was 4 people missing when we saw them boarding. And to be honest, we couldn't really blame them because we assumed that they heard the announcement that it was going to be another 30 minutes before there was any more news, and maybe had gone to get a drink or something like that. So yeah, but they did make it on board and we ended up departing eventually.
About an hour after we took off, dinner was served. It was just chicken and potatoes and vegetables, standard aircraft food. It was okay. Laura quite liked the dessert though.
I did actually. It was just like a chocolate mousse and then had sort of biscuit crumbled on the top, which I thought was quite nice. I ate Lizzie's too. Not
long before we were due to land, we got offered breakfast where you could have either egg or sausage, and it was like on a panini type thing. It was quite nice actually. It was okay to eat. And then we actually landed about 20 minutes earlier than the predicted time.
Once we got to the stand and we got off the plane, we got through the airport really quite quickly. The luggage came off quite quickly and we got through passport control again quickly. And we were back at the car before we knew it, and we were back in some awful rainy weather.
As always, the travelling home is never as good as the travelling out because you're not as excited and you're just tired then and want to get back to your own bed really. We will give you our full views of the cruise in our review, which will be coming up very, very soon.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give this video a like and drop any questions you've got for us in the comments down below. Please also make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also follow us on social media. We're Sisters on the Seas.